All right, so let's look at some more examples of using the quadratic formula. First of all, we'll go ahead and write our standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Let's talk about that a little bit. We're solving for and setting it equal to 0 because remember, we are looking for where this graph crosses the x-axis. And guess what? It's not always a pretty number. So the quadratic formula helps us solve for all kinds of solutions. Rational solutions, irrational solutions, and even imaginary solutions. All right, let's write our quadratic formula. We're going to say that x value, these two guys here, these solutions, are equal to the opposite of that b value, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. I can't help but sing it because it helps me. All right, number one, we need to make sure that first of all, each quadratic is in standard form. So we'll work on both of these simultaneously, and then you can see what we're doing each time. So this one is already in standard form. 3x squared plus 8x minus 3 is equal to 0. Nothing wrong with that. This one we've got a problem because it's not set equal to 0. So 6p squared minus 8p plus 3 is equal to 0. I subtracted 8p from each side. All right, let's talk about our a, b, and c. My a here is 3, my b is 8, and my c is negative 3. Make sure you get that negative because that is a minus 3. Let's talk about this one. My a is equal to 6, my b is equal to negative 8. Again, watch that negative. My c is equal to 3. Now we're going to plug into the formula. All my values of x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Ready for this one? My x values are equal to the opposite of b. Check it out, it's now positive 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Notice it's positive because negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. B squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. How are we doing? So pause the video and make sure that you're caught up with me. You want to use these parentheses, especially on b squared, because we need to make sure those 64s are both positive, whether I have a negative 8 or a positive 8. Okay? All right. Now we're going to simplify my b squared minus 4ac. And I'm telling you what, I'm going to go to my calculator just about every time. So my b squared, let's get down to my, here we go, clear. All right. My b squared minus 4 times a times c. 64 minus, the calculator knows your order of operations, so if you type it in correctly, you'll get it right every time. So simplify the b squared minus 4ac. All right, x is equal to negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 100 all over 2a. We good there? All right, let's do this side. We're going to say b squared minus 4 times a times c. B squared minus 4 times a times c. It's going to give me negative 8. Uh-oh. We're going to get some imaginary solutions here. 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 all over 2a. So let's say you don't have one of these calculators. You can use Desmos. So if you type this in on Desmos, it absolutely will give you the same value. And figuring out that discriminant is important because what you want to do is take a look at what kind of answers we're going to have. Now look, I see my best friend. So I'm so excited when I go to simplify my square root. Positive 8 plus or minus 10, square root of 100 is 10, all over 6. And then we have 8 plus or minus, So when I go to simplify this, the square root of negative 8 is the same as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 8. And 8 has a 4 and a 2 in it. So my square root of 4 is 2. My square root of negative 1 is I. And this 2 is left under the radical. All right. So when we look at dividing 2a to everything and simplify, we want to make sure we look at this because we have some friendly numbers. Do you see how everything here can be divided by 2? So what I end up with here is x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 5 all over 3. Notice same thing happens here. I can divide each of these by 2. By 2, by 2. So I end up with x is equal to 4 plus or minus I times the square root of 2 all over 6. That 2 doesn't count, that square root of 2, he's protected. We don't divide him by 2 because this 2 cancels out, and this is all one term. All right, if there's no square root left, find 2 answers. This is the cool part. So I can say x is equal to negative 4 plus 5, all divided by 3, and x is equal to negative 4 minus 5, all divided by 3. I have 2 answers because of this plus or minus, which means negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1 divided by 3. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9 divided by 3, which simplifies more. So then we can say that x is equal to negative 3 and 1/3. Let's finish out this problem. So x is going to be equal to, I don't have anything else to simplify. I don't have anything else to do. So you're actually going to find that these are okay because you can express these 2 answers as 1. We know it's 2 answers because of that, but guess what? We're allowed to write it as 1. How did you do?